My name is Brian Williams. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Winter Regional Health in Winter, South Dakota. I'm pretty lucky. I've had the opportunity to work uh, not only on the hospital side, but also in the federally qualified health center side. So I've come up through the ranks to the operations, started as a clinic manager, um, managed multiple um, federally qualified health centers. Along with that, I've been a chief operations officer, now CEO. I got into this business because of an experience my daughter had when she was born. It was traumatic for us. My daughter's fine, it's good. It was traumatic for us, being new parents. However, I remember putting my daughter in the minivan, about 16 days after she was born, and spending 10 days in the hospital, and looking at my wife saying, I want to work for a hospital someday. And my wife just kind of laughed, but the opportunity came about 3 years later, and I've loved it ever since. I love the fact that I'm able to work with people, and I feel like I'm doing something good for my community. Even though I'm not a physician or a provider or do anything clinical, I still feel as if I'm adding to the value of our community. I think it's the challenges and frustrations I think are pretty normal. You sign up with organizations or these recruiting companies, and everybody has the same promise. I'm going to find you somebody. There's a million people that are just waiting for you to sign with me in order for, then they'll know about you. And I made it a point in my career many, many years ago not to do retained firms. But I've had a relationship with you, Jeremy, on and off. I think it is for the last 10, 12 years. You've always produced well for me. And even though I make it a point not to have those retained firms, I broke that cardinal rule to work with PX3. You were able to, not only were we able to secure one physician, which is what we were hoping for, but we did have, I want to say we've had at least 3 or 4 people come out to our facility and interview, which is more so than what we've had for the last 3 years. The challenges of not being able to recruit somebody or even be able to find somebody that can assist you in recruiting that individual, it really plays with the psyche of us, because we're a great organization. Yes, we're rural. Yes, we're kind of out there a bit, but we're a great organization. And it just kind of feels defeating when you're not getting those applicants, you're not being able to see those individuals, you're not able to talk to them. You start to wonder, is there something that we're doing wrong? And really, it's not that we're doing anything wrong. It's just we don't have the skill or expertise to locate those individuals who are looking for those opportunities. We just don't have that skill, that talent, the resources, and we don't have the people that can vet these individuals to make sure that we are the kind of facility that they're looking for. I think the thing that made PX3 stand out more than the other ones goes back to my relationship with Jeremy Foley. We've worked together on and off, I think 10, 15 years. And that really was the linchpin, just because of that relationship, knowing him, his integrity, what he stood for, what he stands for now, and what he's done for me in the past. That was really the thing that allowed me to break that cardinal rule of not working with retained firms, to give it a shot, and we've been very pleased with the results. We explored several options. We explored options of being able to, they have facilities out there that will sell you the list of providers who are interested. We've also done some of those contingent firms. We've also looked at utilizing a relationship that Winter has with a bigger organization. And we utilized some of these, but we didn't feel comfortable like we had the expertise to be able to do some of them. And so as we looked at it, we really focused on what skills and talents were we missing to be successful. And as we looked at it, we just kept coming back that we needed somebody that had the skills, the talent, the processes to make this efficient for us. And so again, that's why we chose PX3. It was really good. Like I say, I have a great relationship with Jeremy. We've worked together on and off for many years. But even the individuals besides Jeremy that I worked with, some of the recruiters, they kept me up to date on what's going on. They didn't leave me hanging out in the wind for months. It was a longer process than anybody anticipates, just because we are a unique facility in a unique state in a unique area. But the communication was always up and over. Anytime I had questions about how we were doing, I would email within 24 hours. I usually had a response, except on, holidays. But I had responses. People were, but I rarely had to do that because they were interacting with us regularly. We'd get weekly updates sometimes. Sometimes we'd get bi-weekly updates. It just depended where we were, but I don't think I ever went more than about 2 or 3 weeks with updates on how the progress was going, how the candidates were doing. And I think most importantly, especially once we were able to identify a candidate, I felt PX3 was really driving the relationship of making sure that we were working hard to get that individual out here, because sometimes as a facility, we're like, well, this doesn't work well for us. And PX3 reminded us that, now's the time to really talk to them because they've shown interest. And I think that relationship and that boldness on PX3's part allowed us to actually bring those individuals out there. There's one individual that, honestly, had we waited a couple weeks on, we probably would have never had the opportunity to interview. And that's actually the individual we ended up hiring. I think the way that PX3 Medical exceeded our expectations was just the communication, because we've signed a lot of contracts, especially contingent contracts where you sign it and you never hear back. Or, every other month you're hearing, hey, we're going through lots of people, but you never see those individuals. I've even signed retained contracts in the past where we would sign it, we'd ship them the money or send them the money, and the next thing you know, we're not getting any information. And that's really where Jeremy and his team really exceeded, is every time there was what I call a milestone, a step in the process, they were letting us know. They were always sending us names, confirming that they hadn't been presented. Also, I think one of the better things that they did that really exceeded is they actually did web interviews with these candidates. So I could send that to my providers and my admin team so we could look at that, actually see how the person behaved during those interviews, gave us some insight into who they were. So when we actually interviewed them via either Zoom or in person, it wasn't a shock. We could easily identify them. We kind of saw their mannerisms. I just thought it was a great way to be introduced to a possible team member. Well, the specific results we received by partnering with PX3 Medical is the fact that we were able to hire a physician. That was our goal. But more importantly, we were looking for a physician with that was a family medicine that had OB experience. And I was more impressed with the fact that we hadn't been able to locate one, but utilizing PX3 had really helped us identify the fact how hard it is to recruit for them, especially in our area, in our market, with what's going on. And even though they presented us with several candidates that were interested, it helped solidify the fact that we probably weren't going to be able to recruit for that kind of provider in this area. So, I was totally impressed with, they were able to identify, show us data, real world experiences, and everything else to help us see that we may be trying to recruit for something that is just not, at this point in time, feasible for us to recruit for. And so they assisted us in pivoting in that search and realigning really what we should be looking for in our area without actually telling us that. They did it by presenting the candidates, presenting the facts, allowing us to have conversations with people. And so I think that really helped us determine a lot of ways in which we actually provide some of our services here, specifically labor and delivery. It solidified the fact that if we were going to continue to do that, we're going to have to support it with traveling physicians which is something that we couldn't continue after 5 years of doing. I think that the hire of this physician really impacted our organization in several ways. This physician has a lot of experience in really what we're looking for, which is ER, hospitals, and clinic. He's a very dynamic individual, a good leader within our facility and our organization, brought a new vision and a new look to what's going on. And this position's really become the backbone to a lot of things that we're doing. He's assisted us in seeing that we could actually provide care more efficiently with a different type of provider than what we've been doing for the last 30 or 40 years. He's also helped us see that we could tweak some things or make some minor adjustments to allow us to be successful in things we were already doing, but maybe didn't feel as if we were doing it as well as we could, such as efficiency in the ER, trying to make sure our standing orders were up to date. So there's a lot of things that this position has assisted us with, which has been a breath of fresh air to the whole facility and community. Well, my relationship with PX3 Medical is even post recruiting of a physician is obviously good because I'm doing the video. I still have communications with Jeremy. He's followed up a few times to ensure that the candidate's doing well, that the provider is doing well. I know he's followed up with the physician himself because he's even mentioned it to me. And Jeremy still keeps in contact. Hey, is there anything else you need? Let us know. But he's also honest. He's like, hey, now's not a good time for us to be doing this just because we're in a weird time frame. And I can't say enough, but I think that's just what Jeremy expects out of him and his team is that relationship. And even though we recruited an individual, Jeremy doesn't think that's where the relationship ends. If I had a colleague or peer ask if they should work with PX3 Medical, I would highly recommend them. Matter of fact, I've recommended one or two individuals to PX3. I know both of them have talked to PX3 because they've let me know, and I know one has actually engaged in a contract with PX3 and was successful in recruiting a professional there and is working with PX3 to recruit more professionals. So I think for me as an individual working in rural America, looking for the type of clinical professionals we're looking for, I would highly recommend PX3. They understand what we're going through, they understand the market, and I know I'm not the only one who's had success with it. I think the one thing I would share with others is one of the things we're always looking at when we enter into such agreements, especially retained firms, is we're looking at what's going to be a return on investment. How is this going to pay off or provide dividends in the future? And the best way that I look at it is PX3 has not only provided a great ROI for us, but the dividends have been huge. Because of the individual we recruited, we've started changing some culture. We've brought a breath of fresh air. And the ironic thing is the individual we recruited actually was from South Dakota. But we would have never found this individual had PX3 not gone through the process. This individual wasn't looking on LinkedIn. He wasn't looking on these job boards, but he showed interest because of PX3. And because of that, we were able to recruit a very good provider who we're hoping will be with us for many, many years. So I think if you're looking at what's the return on your investment or what's the dividends going to be, I think if you're looking at that compared to other retained firms, I think you'll be very impressed with really how well this will turn out for you and your community. I think the thing that made me agree to perform this testimony is I obviously am not getting paid for it. It's not because of my good looks. It's really because I believe in Jeremy. Like I said, I believe in him and his team. PX3 has done me well. I've known Jeremy for so many years. He's always been there. He's always been a producer. We've always had good outcomes together. And I think really the reason why is because not only have I had a good experience, but I know two other people that I directly referred to Germany. One of them signed and was able to recruit another medical professional to their community. And even though the other one didn't sign and go after that, they even called me back and told me it was a great experience. They learned a lot about what's going on. And they just weren't able at that point to really proceed with anybody. But it really helped them understand that when they're ready, they'll probably be contacting PX3. So, I mean, it's not like my testimony is going to sway anybody. The only thing I can say, this is the experience I had. And it's not only the experience I've had, but I know two other people who I look at as dear colleagues that have also had positive experiences. So why would I not support somebody who I believe in?